This is writer Kyle Higgins, and you've jumped inside the pull bag, only on the Geekcast Radio Network.
It is I, TFG and Mike, coming to you, the pull bag listeners, and wanted to let you know that this episode with my buddy MartyStoked, also known as Matt Martin, was recorded a long-ass time ago. I thought I actually lost the recording because Skype was going through some updates. And yes, I know Skype is an old technology and whatever, but I go with what I know. I go with what, at least in my own brain, works for me. However, we were able to find the recording. We did not have to re-record this. So this is his Origins and Comic Reading episode. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag, only on the Geekcast Radio Network. This is episode 480, and we are 20 away from 500. I am, of course, TFG and Mike. Joining me this time is that guy you may know. He likes DeLoreans, folks. His name is MartyStoked, a.k.a. Matt Martin. Hello, sir.
How's it going?
I assume that's why MartyStoked, but I'm sure you'll tell that story.
It's an old nickname actually, from like high school, a wicked long time ago.
Yes, high school was 20 plus years for me. Oh God.
Oh, further behind you.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yes, we are here to talk about Matt's comic origin story. And I remember the first time I was looking for the other Matt, the one I had on in episode 420? Yeah, it was 420. That I had Radiant Matt on from the Radiant Black podcast. I thought you and he were the same person. Like literally.
You wouldn't be the first person that's done that. When the Radiant Black podcast and the Invincible podcast, aka Circle Guy News, were just trying to get together. Mm-hmm. They included me in the group chat because they also thought I was Radiant Matt, and they're like, "All right, let's figure out when we're recording this group thing." And I responded quickly. I was like, "Hey, I'm just, I just help them out in Discord. I do the moderation type of thing. I'm not actually officially on the podcast. I think you want this guy instead." So they're like, "Whoops," and then I dropped from the message. So. Fun times.
Well, I did just finish Supermassive. I guess you could go green and just destroy him and become the new Radiant Matt. Oh, a whole bunch of inside stuff here, folks. And of course, we are here to get Matt's origins and how he got into or out of reading comics. I think how we got out of reading comics is kind of more interesting now, especially in that digital space, but that's a few questions down the line. Did you grow up reading comics, and at what age do you first remember reading or noticing comics? So
I've always read the funny papers in the newspapers. That was always my big go-to when I was little and younger. And I tried to get into actually reading comics maybe about middle school. I tried picking up like Spider-Man, because about that time was when like the original Spider-Man movies were out. And I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Like I want to learn more. And I started to try to pick it up. And I don't even remember what my first issue was that I picked up and tried to read through it. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I didn't know where to start. Got a little bit lost and confused. And then I tried to talk to some of my friends about it. And I was the only idiot reading comics, apparently, because everyone was like, we just watch the movies. We don't know what you're talking about. This sucks. This really sucks, because I thought this was really cool and, fun and a good time. So after that, like I didn't read comics from there on for a while, until recently again, which I guess, I don't know if that's another question, but I can kind of go into that a little bit if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's down the line. So as a kid, was there a parent or friend or just said, "Here, kid, read this comic, go away, you bother me"?
I think my parents were never really into comics. They were into more books, and I ended up reading like the adventure type books, books with Merlin and magic and mystical arts type books, and Harry Potter I was a big fan of. I mean, that was a little bit when I was a little older. And then you had like Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, that whole series, read through that. And, books like that I really got into, and I never really got into comics specifically, but there are books like that and mystery type books and kind of choose your own adventure books is what I was always into as a kid. I mean, my parents took me to the local library and stuff, but it was always that or magazine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The choose your own adventure stuff in the 80s was between that and like little golden books and the other like Berenstain Bears and all that. And I've said this on this show before, I've started out on all that. Then I went to the Hardy Boys case files. And then at some point I ended up a John Grisham fan, which why not? It's good writing. So when you were a kid, which characters were your favorites?
So I was really drawn to Spider-Man when I was, and I haven't picked up any of the recent stuff recently, but it's on kind of my backlog to go through the Gwen Stacy origin and that reading order. Talking to a couple people online and through Twitter and Discord, like they helped me find the best way to read, some of that type of stuff because I find her kind of background interesting, and I played the Marvel games and stuff like that, and with obviously Into the Spider-Verse, it was really cool to try to understand more of her backstory. But Spider-Man was a big one. When I really liked Iron Man, especially when that first movie came out. I think everyone was, wow, this is awesome. And Iron Man has showed up in a couple of things that I've since picked up and read, which kind of goes into like the whole why I picked it back up. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But those were the main ones. And I also recently like Doctor Strange. He's really, really cool. I like a lot of his stuff, and on my backlog of reading is The Death of Doctor Strange, because that one looks really, really good, and from what everyone was saying. But I actually tried to pick up Doctor Strange a while back, and I ended up like torrenting some of the old stuff, and it was crazy. Read through all that, but I would say those are the main ones.
All right, it's that age-old question: DC or Marvel?
So, I like both. I mean, I haven't read enough comics ways to really go one way or the other, but like right now I'm reading through Nightwing's run, Kyle Higgins' Nightwing's run. So I'm about most of the way through that, and I really like the Nightwing character. I almost like him better than Batman. I've read some Batman stuff, but I definitely like Nightwing. Want to find some more runs of his to read, and I guess it's just it depends on what you're feeling for the time, right? Because I really like the whole detective aspect of it. Going back to what I liked to read as a kid, right? Adventure stories. I read some of those Hardy Boys books as well, and I really like that aspect of it. And I think that it just depends on what I'm feeling for the day or when I go to pick up a book. But they both have their pros and cons, and it really all depends. So I can't pick one.
Yeah, I often don't, because my answer to this question is I like characters over here and I like characters over there. I've never had a specific allegiance to one or the other when it comes to the comics. However, even though this isn't about animation, because I have a whole other origins thing for that, when it comes to animation, DC for the most part, from 1992 till I almost want to say current, kind of runs the gamut on Marvel a little bit. Obviously, we had the Spider-Man 94 series. We had X-Men 92, which, X-Men 92 is 30 years old this Halloween. Oh, Lord. And, so it is what it is. But, yeah, I generally, I go with characters from either camp. I'll save all of my recommendations for the last few questions, because I have one thing that I think you'll like after you're done with Kyle's Nightwing run. Actually, multiple, but you'll see later. So what other publishers do you enjoy reading besides those two?
I would say right now, a lot of the indie stuff is good. Image is pretty incredible right now with, Radiant Black. You have Invincible, right? You have Oblivion Song. There's just so much that, and like Image is killing it right now, and I really like a lot of the stuff that's coming out of there. There's spin-offs from Radiant Black, of course. There's Radiant Red. There's the Dead Lucky coming out. There's Rogue Sun, which first came out, and then a Supermassive, and really looking forward to more Rogue Sun too, which is awesome. And I gotta, I only read the first issue of Song, but I heard that Oblivion Song is ridiculous, and it just gets crazy bonkers, and it's a wild ride. I've only read the first compendium of The Walking Dead, but I literally have the second compendium ready to go right by my bedside. So it's like I literally have a stack of comics, like both physical and digital, because a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to read through and catch up on based off of people's recommendations is I get the physicals from the library for the most part. The stuff that I have that I want to that I have on display are put in, boarded and bagged, and I don't even take them out. As soon as I get them, they get reboarded and bagged, and they go in top loaders, and then they go on my wall. So so anything that I'm actually physically touching or reading, I get from the libraries, the local libraries. People sleep on it, but I got Kyle the first four volumes of Kyle Higgins' run. I've got the first, I read through the first compendium of The Walking Dead. I have the second one. I'm reading through. I've got Loki, and I also have Deadpool, which I started reading last night. So like, you can't sleep on your local library for those people that are looking to get in and looking to like, the biggest excuse with people having, buying comics and stuff. Oh, it's so much money. It's like, well, you don't have to buy everything. You can borrow, or you can, get a subscription. And I'm sure we'll get into this Comixology, right? Comixology. We'll get there, and I know you.
We're about to get there, because question 6: print or digital? Which one? Both? Either or? And why or why not? I've added the why not. You're the first person I added. So originally the question always read print or digital, which one, both, either or, and why? Because from 2013, when I started this podcast, to just a couple of months ago, or a month ago or so, I have sung the praises of Comixology digital, because I am a legally blind person. I have a 32-inch monitor. I want to be able to read my comics on my computer, not my 6.7-inch Google Pixel 6 Pro. Like, as much as I love my Pixel 6 Pro, comics are meant to be read on a monitor that is bigger than 24 inches.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, let's get into this. What's your story here?
So this kind of goes back to kind of how I got back into comics. So I don't know if there's a question later on, but I'm going to kind of marry these two together because it kind of just makes sense from a timeline's perspective. So I got actually into comics, or back into comics, when the Invincible show was dropped on Prime. The first 3 seasons dropped. I heard it on one of the podcasts I listened to. They're like, "Oh yeah, Invincible's coming out." I Googled it. I was like, "Oh, this looks fucking sweet. I'm gonna give it a whirl." Instantly hooked after the ending of the first episode. I was like, holy fuck. And then I found out, I had to do some Googling, because I was like, I need to know more, right away. And they're like, oh yeah, this was all based off of a Kirkman comic, and blah, 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 blah. And then next thing it came up was the Invincible podcast. And I was like, all right, immediate download to the Invincible podcast. Found out that there was 144 issues, available, and I was Googling it, and of course, like, you couldn't I'm not going to buy 144 issues. That's just nuts. Like, how's the easiest way and fastest way that I can consume this? Oh, Amazon, 3 compendiums. You can get them on Prime, and they're on Comixology. And so instead of spending like a crap load of money, because I didn't know what I was getting into, I said, screw it. I spent the $60 on the 3 compendiums and got it digitally on Comixology. So right after that, at the same time, they were running like this promotion, whatever, get whatever, get whatever months free of Comixology. So I said, sure, what the hell? So I signed up for that, and instantly my comic journey or reinstatement began. And I was, I started looking in Twitter and finding this whole Twitter group and people and following. And I was like, oh my God, like there's people that I can actually talk to cool things about. So I, needless to say, I ripped through 144 issues, 3 compendiums of Invincible through Comixology, and I was instantly hooked. Instantly. The guided view alone was amazing. It took my breath away in some reading through some of the Invincible stuff. And have you read Invincible?
No, I haven't, but just the guided view technology alone, like that's the point here is the guided view technology, because I mean, I've got Radiant Black number 10 pulled up here just because, oh my God, those colors. Wow.
Oh God,
they're
so
on
good.
fire. Yeah. So, there used to be a button, folks. Now on the Comixology app, at least on phones, you can see what
Double
gets
tap.
me. Yeah, you just double tap. What gets me though is, and I asked them about this, why isn't there a Microsoft Store Comixology app? So at least I can still have Comixology on my computer the way that I want to. Because don't nobody want to be freaking Dr. Zoom. Don't nobody want to use Amazon. Kindle's great for books. Kindle is great for reading actual written word books. Kindle comics, blah, I think I just threw up in my mouth. That's just disgusting. They mishandled this so many ways. And the fact that, especially if you're on a phone, if you have let's just say a giant panel, sometimes you have to rotate it and it blows up so nicely. And seeing this on a computer screen is just so much better because it takes your screen to a whole new level. And I'm sorry, Amazon, you fucked up.
Yeah, they did.
Whatever you did, and all is so. And this has been good. And we mentioned this in episode 473. We went through this whole thing, so I'm not going to try to rehash this on your Origins episode. However, Amazon announced that they were going to be buying Comixology or whatever back in 2014. They've had
a while ago.
8 years. This podcast has been online for 9 years, in 2013. They've had 8 years, and all of a sudden, it's an Amazon company. It's fine. It's great. Nothing's going to change. Blah, blah, blah. You're still going to have the same experience. They waited 8 years, and they fucked everything up because all they had to do, if they really wanted to integrate it into Amazon, it's Comixology.com. Okay, Amazon.com/Comixology. You didn't have to change the Comixology website. You didn't have to get rid of it. You didn't have to do anything. If you really wanted the Amazon name on comics, just put Amazon.Comixology.com. That's all you got to do. And I said this back in episode 473, and I don't want to say any more, but it's so frustrating.
Yeah, the guided view alone is incredible, and I mean, there were parts when I was reading through Invincible where I had to put it down.
Oh yeah,
and it took my breath away. I was like, holy, Jesus! you got to be kidding me. And I had to pause, take a breath, and then like I dug back in. But I ended up ripping through all that, and it's kind of crazy because around the same time, like my daughter and I have two kids. My oldest is 7, and my youngest is going to be 2 pretty soon. And my wife and I used to read to my daughter every night, and my oldest every night, and we would read, the smaller books, get to the bigger books, and we tried to get her to read on her own. And she, for some reason, like she loved it when we read to her, but for some reason she didn't want to read by herself. So like superhero stuff, and I started showing her, not Invincible, obviously, but like other stuff that I started to poke around with at Comixology, that I started to poke around and read, because if you have the unlimited, it's worth it to poke around and pick and see what you want. And there's things like Usagi, which is really cool. That's cool to kids. And we actually read through some of that, but like seeing that. And then what I ended up doing was I ended up buying this book because she was interested in superheroes. And I heard on another podcast I listened to, there's this book called Marvel Powers of a Girl. And it's by Lorraine Sink, who is deep into the Marvel. It's all about like female Marvel characters. So I bought her the hardcover, and it came a couple days later. I said, listen, let's like take a look at this. Let's read through this. And why don't we together pick one superhero that you think is really cool, and I will go out and I'll buy you the physical comic, and we'll read through it. So we took 2, 3, 4 days looking at the book and reading through the powers and the origins at a high level of each of these superheroes, and she ended up picking Squirrel Girl, which is, out of all of the people that are in there, right? You have Miss Marvel, you have Spider-Gwen, you have Monica Rambeau, you have all of these like crazy overpowered superheroes in some way, shape, or form. And I mean, Squirrel Girl is pretty freaking powerful too. But she picked Squirrel Girl, and I was like, well, why'd you pick Squirrel Girl? And she's like, because I like her tail and she seems pretty cool. And I was like, all right. So we bought three volumes of Squirrel Girl, and she freaking loved it. Like, she absolutely loved it. She was able to start reading stuff on her own. Like it was she just immediately, with the pictures, and like I had to teach her how to read, right? Of course, when you have a physical, you have to learn how to read it. It's not as straightforward. And I was kind of pointing to the panels as I was going to it, but like she was immediately hooked because you had pictures, you had cool things happening, and you had interesting characters. And from then on out, like we still at night will read comics together instead of books, and Marvel Unlimited is great with that. So like we've read through Adventure Time, the entire series, and now we've read through that. We're reading through Sonic, which is a ton of fun, and they do such a good job with that. I remember the comics growing up, so we're reading through that now. We've read a bunch of Usagi, and it's really cool because like I was talking about how I started to get hooked back into and finding this community and finding the Radiant Black podcast too, which is kind of a whole nother side story, which I'll get into in a minute. But, along in this journey, like people are willing to share knowledge, and I didn't have it before. So if you're on comic book Twitter and you find the right people to interact with, it's a ton of fun. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm looking for recommendations. I'm trying to figure out, what I want to read to my kid. Oh, I read this with my kid. Like Bash has sent me a ton of stuff on, and other people in Discord, which has been great too. And so if you love, I'll plug it here, and I'll probably plug it at the end. But if you love Radiant Black, and you love you love Rogue Sun and Supermassive, and you're not on the Discord server, you need to be. Yeah, there's like 250 people on it, right? You have Kyle and all the other creators are on it. Yeah, and we interact with them on a regular basis. Yeah, it's got emoji, like all Radiant Black emojis. It's got Radiant Black stickers. It's just a ton of fun.
Only thing, and I'm not asking for this. I am not asking for this because I won't be able to read it even with my decoder. Thankfully, the Radiant text has not taken over fully because I wouldn't be able to read up what everyone says. As much as I love the Radiant text and how cool it is, and since you mentioned Kyle and you're mentioning the creators on the Discord with the Radiant Black Discord, It is awesome. It is fun. I love that we live in a day and age where creators and fans alike can come together and be civil with each other and just have fun and not have to worry about, oh my God, you ruined my character, so I'm going to insert whatever threat you want to insert here to your house or what. Like, don't do that crap, folks. If you're not liking something that a creator is doing, express that you don't like what they're doing and then just leave it at that. Don't be a dick, basically. The other thing, since you mentioned Kyle, I actually tweeted at him the other day. So this is the first episode of the Pullbag that will be heard close to the end of the month, actually. That sadly breaks my heart. So at the beginning of March, middle of March, really, March 16th, we had the release of Radiant Black Volume 2 in trade paperback. So that's issue 7 of 12.
Yep, just came out.
Yep. So on that day or whenever it was, and this is not helping me. So whenever that was, that March 16th that it came out.
Yeah, yesterday.
Not the day, right? Not the time. By the time people will hear this, that's like 3 weeks ago. But I immediately just sent out a quick tweet saying, "Hey, Kyle. Hey, Sam. Hey, will the second volume be getting a score?" Because I loved Sam Ewing's music for the first 6 issues. I said, I said, "Hey, at Sam J. Ewing, at Kyle D. Higgins, will there be a Radiant Black score for issue 7 to 12? Kyle says, "No, not at this time." Damn it. Because it's just one thing. And look, okay, there won't be one. I can just sit here and say my damn it and move on. And okay, I have an answer to my question, and that's fine. You know, I'm disappointed that there isn't going to be one, because that's one of the things that Kyle in his creator-owned journey has done. There's a soundtrack for Cowl. Cowl. There is a soundtrack for where Cowl comes from, his movie, The League. Obviously, that was his independent filmmaker movie thing that he did. There's a soundtrack to this. There's a soundtrack to that. So almost everything he does includes a sound, like the whole Power Rangers thing. There's a soundtrack for that and whatever. The fact that Shattered Grid has its own theme from Ron Wasserman of all people, obviously, because Ron Wasserman is the Power Rangers music king. And you know what? Am I disappointed that issue 7 to 12 aren't going to get a score at this time? Sure. Doesn't mean I still don't enjoy it. Doesn't mean that I still can't interact civilly with the community. Like, I'm not going to go off on a shooting rampage because there's not going to be a score to a comic book. I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're right. If you find the right people on comics, hashtag comics anything, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Discord, MySpace, LinkedIn, Friendster, whatever. As long as you find the right people, that's fine. It's when you run into those people that want to, close the gate on you, so to say. This has gone down a wild ride. So tell the rest of your stuff. I'm so sorry.
And I'll say this too, like our Discord server is Radiant Black and Supermassive Focus, but we have other comic sections and all that other crap. So
absolutely, yeah.
So that's just another avenue and another reason why to hop in and hop on. And I'll say this, I'm not making any promises, and I mentioned this once on another on the Radiant Black podcast, but there's a guy in the Discord server, Nick, who's done some of the emojis for us, and he actually created a font program for Radiant Black. So I'm now trying to take that font and I'm trying to create a Discord bot that will spit out, you give it text and it'll spit out the Radiant font.
You are evil. Evil.
I'm not going to be able to do it the other way because I'm not going to get into too technical about the rationale. Right. But Discord Markdown really sucks from a text perspective. So the only way to really do it is to basically input the text and then spit out an image of what the font is going to be. So, but anyways, something that I'm working on. I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but it's kind of, I'm doing it on the side of my desk, when I have time.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. So, you may be there's another reason to potentially join the server, but we're all good people. And that's the best part. Like you said, finding the right people to interact with and staying away from the negativeness of Twitter is that. And that's really the best. You get the best of both worlds as long as you don't interact negatively, right? Because you could just ignore it. That's the easiest thing to do on Twitter. You don't have to answer every tweet that people tweet at you if they're trying to.
And then there are people,
you or be jackasses or whatever.
Yeah. The Johnny Knoxvilles of the world. Oh Lord. Okay, who are some of your favorite writers?
So, I like Kyle's writing, obviously, with Radiant Black. I've read through, I would say, 3/4 of Shattered Grid. I think I've read the first 7 volumes. I have to read through that to finish that up. Kirkman is fucking incredible with what I've read so far on all of Invincible, of course, as well as the Walking Dead, and then also with Oblivion Song. I can't wait to jump into that. So that's, Saga, right, is another one. Vaughn and Staples, like, Jesus, I'm reading through the first compendium on that to try to get caught up with everybody else. So that's another one. But so those I would say are some. You obviously have, Ryan Parrott with Rogue Sun. I really like what he's doing there. And then the latest Moon Knight run, right, is pretty fucking awesome. I don't know if have you read the latest Moon Knight? Oh, it's so good. It's with who writes it? McKay, Capullo and Rosenberg, or Capuccio. I'll probably pronounce that wrong, but really, really good. Jed McKay is the writer there.
Very cool. What defines a good story to you?
Man, that's something that has a lot of action, but has a general theme to it, or multiple themes intertwined. Something that makes it relatable to me. I think now, we're kind of around the same age.
Yeah,
we have a bunch more life experiences, so being able to tap into those life experiences that I've had, and to find stories that intertwine that are really awesome. Like Radiant Black right away. I was never in debt. Ran. Holy fuck, does that panel really hit to me? It's like, I remember coming out of college, working my ass off, multiple jobs, and trying to get ahead. And I know what that feels like. So right there, that had me hooked. And I was like, fuck, I know exactly what they're going through. I lived through that shit. And it's really, really awesome to kind of see a writer take that and run with it and make the characters so relatable, which is why I think Radiant Black does so well. And has been doing so well. Rogue Sun is a little different because we don't know too much and he inherits the powers. But I'm really interested to see ass rich guy is going to turn himself around and be a hero. So that's always something, kind of a little different swing on things. But and I think that's why Invincible was so cool too. Not to be, heavy with Radiant Black and Invincible with us, with this podcast, but that's really where next, you can connect to things like mom and dad sitting at a table and making you go do X, Y, and Z. The only difference is your dad's a superhero. Well, how fucking cool is that? That's what every kid dreams, right? My dad is a superhero, or my mom is a superhero, or my mom, X, Y, Z has superpowers. That's just something you dream of. So to have that come to life is really freaking cool and really drags you in. Some of the themes with the DC stuff too are especially with your life experience, like with life experiences to pull me. And that's kind of why I really like Nightwing. Nightwing has a lot of that. He battles with a lot of that type of stuff. And I can relate to a lot of the things in one way or another to pull me into the story in a different level than just the art, which is awesome, and the writing, right? Because there's always that person. If you can get connected at that personal level, it just makes the read so much more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah. And back in 2013, when I had Kyle on the show, the only time I've ever talked to the guy, in that interview, he says, "Oh, I'd love to go on to Power Rangers." He eventually went on to Power Rangers and other things and whatever. But during that conversation, where he comes from is where we come from. Batman the Animated Series and all of its subsequent retitling, where Lauren Lester is the voice of Dick Grayson, whether he's Robin or Nightwing, but he is the voice of Dick Grayson, that version of Robin. And with that, when you're reading Kyle's run, if you don't hear Lauren Lester in your head, you haven't watched enough Batman the Animated Series, because I swear to God, how far in are you with that? I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Into Nightwing, the Nightwing run?
Yeah.
I stopped after the third book. So I have volume 4.
Okay, so you have volume 4 and 5 too. Okay, so yeah. So basically, I'm going to say this now, and I've said this on this podcast before, and it's not Kyle, it's DC Comics. And at the time, it was the people that were running certain things at DC Comics, and I've made this joke before, it's not Dan DiDio, it's Dan DiDildo, because he hates Nightwing, and he wants Nightwing to die at every single. So I'm sure you knew Forever Evil and blah blah. Like, it was big news. It wasn't like, this isn't a spoiler. Yeah. So Kyle wrote up to, I think, he wrote
volume 5. I think.
Yeah, he wrote volume 5. I'm trying to remember if he didn't write issue 30 or if he did, because issue 29 kind of is the ultimate send-off, I think, personally. And once you get to issue 29, you're going to see, and you're going to be like, oh, wow. Because that's just the way it is. All right. What does the story have to draw you in? So basically, you go and you see the comic on the comic book store shelf, or you see it on Amazon or whatever. And you open the first page. What is that first couple of pages have to have for you to say, okay, or when you finish the first issue of a comic, what does that first issue have to say, okay, I'm going to come back and read the second issue, the third issue, the fourth issue, etc.?
Yeah, so I think part of it has to have good art. If the art isn't good and I don't like the art, I mean, there's different styles of art, right? So what I may like versus what somebody else may like are two totally different things. But the art's got to draw me in. Like with Marcella Costa and lettering by Becca Carey with Radiant Black, it immediately drew me in. It just made the read that much more enjoyable. You know what I mean? So having great art and great coloring and great lettering, Igor Monti, right? Too, can't forget your colorist on a lot of the issues. They're amazing, and they're a good follow on Twitter too. It has to have good art and it has to have good lettering, because if you can't, part of the story is the pictures. Picture, it's just like a cartoon. It's got to have good art. It's got to make sense. The story also has to make sense along with it. And it's got to be, kind of like relatable from a story perspective. Right. Those are the biggest things that draw me in, which is kind of why I was hooked right off the bat with Radiant Black, because it was so relatable, and the art is fucking ballistic. It's out of control what they've done, and how they draw and everything. It's just crazy. It's on such a different level with all the covers, and the cover. You've probably heard the Radiant Black podcast talk about the fucking cover game of Radiant Black.
Oh, it's unmatched.
It's bananas. fucking bananas.
Yeah, it is unmatched.
Yeah. And it's just so those are the main, those are the main things right off the bat.
I mean, let's just say 80, 90, hell, screw it. Let's just say almost 100 years of comics. I don't think anyone, I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong in saying this, someone please gently message me in Twitter or shoot me an email, tfgmike@gmail.com, whatever, but I'm going to say this. In, let's just say, almost a 100 years of comics history, there has never been a blacklight edition issue where you can take a blacklight and go over the comic, and these fluorescent inks that they used, oh my god. Issue 10 of Radiant Black, if you're reading it without the blacklight, it's an acid trip. But if you read it with the blacklight, it's like you dropped acid into a shot of vodka.
Yeah.
It's bonkers good.
Yeah, it's so good that on my wall right now, I have a blacklight box that lights up that I built from Amazon that you can open and change the pages to. And that was the start of my my kind of display that I have going on right now of Supermassive, which is turning into Supermassiveverse. But like, that was the first thing that I put on my wall. And as soon as that came out, I pre-ordered one. And then then that pre-order didn't come fast enough. And I went to my local comic book store and I was like, fuck this. And I called them and I was like, they're like, yeah, we got one. And I was like, you're holding that? I'll be there in 20 minutes. Ran down, grabbed it, and then built the box. The box is on my wall. Shit lights up. It's fucking incredible. So I have that in there, and then I have the regular blacklight book that's in a top loader. I have the freaking Radiant Blacklight poster, and I also bought I have a 9.8 coming. Wow. 9.8 of the variant graded, of 10 graded and signed by Kyle Higgins. I'm still waiting for that. Wow. I got one of the first 10 that dropped. And here's another reason why to be in the Discord server, because guess what? I think 6 or 8 of us in that Discord server, out of the 10 that were available, got them the first drop.
Wow, that is awesome.
We messaged, we said, oh, they dropped. Go. And 6 or 8 of us got them.
Yeah.
So the 10 that dropped.
The other thing before, since we're talking about Radiant Black and everything else, and before I move on to the next question, the other thing with Radiant Black that it did that no other comic to my knowledge has ever done, and I wish it would have won an Eisner Award at the time when the issue dropped, issue number 3, the Writing Day issue.
Yep.
I have never seen a comic. I've been reading comics for 9 years now. In 9 years, I have never seen a comic do what that comic did. So fucking good. And yeah, this definitely deserves its own award for anything that Image is doing right now with the Massive Verse or whatever they're going to call it. I know that's what everyone else is calling it. I don't know if that's actually what I think I've heard Michael and Kyle say it is the Massive Verse, but I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that, like it's ingrained in stone, like you have the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, it's so good, folks. Who are some of your favorite comics artists?
Oh man, well, Marcelo Acosta.
Yep.
Igor Monti.
Yep.
Everybody from Radiant Black, right? You got
pretty much. Yeah. Becca Carey. Yeah.
Yeah, Becca Carey.
Anyone that does line art, anyone that does coloring, anyone that does lettering, essentially anyone on the Radiant Black team that works on Radiant Black is going to be a favorite, because this book looks, I think the only thing, and she's only shown up a few times, and I shake my head at it because I listened to the Radiant Black podcast episode when, oh my God, Nathan got hurt. Why didn't you call me? Oh my God. Ugh, Aunt Kathy, my ass. And my mom's name is Kathy. Like, seriously, it's not. And my mom's been dead since 2015, so it's not like it's a. But I'm just like, who is this Kathy character? Why haven't you given us a single issue or a single panel explaining her? Like, seriously, my biggest conspiracy theory with her is she's the Radiant robot in human form.
I want to see her be like a supervillain or something like that, or somehow tied in some way, shape, or form, where like she comes in and she's got powers of some kind, and she's really been keeping tabs on everybody, or somehow connected with Marshall. Like there's so many villains that are coming up with Radiant Black, and like so much story that could potentially go in 12 different directions. Like they haven't even gotten truly cosmic yet, which is going to be nuts. But kind of, I don't want to be too
the
heavy on
artists,
Radiant Black.
yes,
yeah,
the artists.
So
yes.
Lock by Livio Raimondo.
Okay, so here we go. No, here's Livio Remondelli. There you go.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. He is fucking awesome.
He is.
And the Killlock, so Bash introduced me to the Killlock, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Guy wrote it and fucking drew it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's like big into the Transformers.
Oh yeah.
In the Transformers world, so I'm sure you know a lot about it, because I know you guys talk about Transformers, and Transformers is something that I want to get into. But like this guy does not get enough credit for the shit that he does, because like that's hyper talent right there. Like he writes it and he draws it. Like how many comic book creators do that on a regular basis? And you know, like it's amazing. The shit that he does is amazing. Yeah.
I have not read the first volume yet. I have it. I actually just opened it on my Comixology. Yeah. No, you're right. I'm sure it is. I mean, it's him. So the thing with Livio Remondelli and Transformers is the man has a style all his own.
Oh, he does.
And it is very cosmic looking. He takes these, like it so much. Yeah, he takes these Cybertronian robots and the style that he draws them with, colors them. He doesn't always do the colors, but a lot of the times, most of the time, he will do his own colors. Most of the time, sometimes I don't remember off the top of my head, but like the man is amazing. He is so cool. He is so fun, and yeah, I mean, one man machine.
I mean, I liked him so much. I bought the Supermassive variant of his. Mm-hmm. So he drew a Superman, and then I gave it away on Twitter because I wanted, I wanted more people need to know about that. Like the freaking variant was amazing. But I had a 300 followers giveaway that I gave away that variant, and a copy of that variant. So to share their wealth. But the another artist, right? It goes without saying, invincible artist, right? Ryan Otley, like Jesus Christmas. Yep. The shit that he draws, not only invincible, but like Hulk, his Hulk run. Like I haven't read his Hulk run, but I've seen freaking pictures and I've seen posts about it, and holy shit, like he just takes it up to 11 on everything he does. And Michael Basuto hopped in our Discord one day, and he was like, "Hey guys, we're compiling a list of artists that you want, that we're thinking of for all future, books and things in general. What do you guys want to see?" And so we ended up, compiling a bunch of lists and making a big poll and having people vote on it. But Ryan Otley was like on the list. It wasn't even funny. Like he probably got the most or almost the most votes.
Wow.
I would really love to see him do a Radiant Black cover or whatever variant, but he's awesome. Capullo is incredible.
Yeah.
On so many different levels. So those are the main ones that I think are out of this world.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you to all the writers, all the artists, everyone that does comic creation, editors, whatever. It like I said, last 80, 90, 100 years from where comics started to where they are now. Thank you to everybody, because there has been some amazing things. And yes, I know there have also been some cringeworthy things. I'm looking at you, 1990s red, blue, yellow art. Anyway, do you have a favorite non-superhero title?
Non-superhero title. Well, I mean, Oblivion Song's pretty good. Saga is... So I would say those are two. The Kill Lock, I'll say that one again. It is definitely, I don't know, it's more cosmic and more of sci-fi than anything else. So yeah, those are three.
Cool. What is your favorite run of a series? So the best way I can explain this is like Batman 1940 from 597 to 604 or something. Like, what's your favorite story arc run kind of a series from a series?
So I haven't read quite as much as most people, just trying to get back into it and taking recommendations for a lot of people, but I have to go back to just Invincible, right? It's so good. It's so good, and I don't want to give too much of it away because I know you haven't read it. Know, but you could. There's so many different arcs, and I went into details. We got Invincible spoiler heavy when I was on the Radiant Black pod, but just talking through those, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a bunch of runs that hit so freaking hard in there. I mean, the whole series hits hard, but like there's some that just absolutely crush you, and I'm really excited for what Prime season 2 and season 3 is going to be like, and what actually and when we're going to see stuff. Because I'm hoping for some of that to come to light in these next couple of seasons on TV.
Absolutely. What's a comic you can read over and over again, single issue or trade?
Well, I mean, I've read Radiant Black so many times. A bunch of times we'll read through it 2-3 times. Like you pick up on all these little things. I think the best, and I know I'm talking, Radiant Black heavy, but one thing I really like about Radiant Black, with what Kyle's doing and the whole creative team, is they're putting little Easter eggs in the various issues. If you go back to like issue, what was it, 7, I think, when they're in Tokyo, there's billboards, and one of the billboards has the characters on it. One of the billboards has the Ordinary Gods poster. So he's like melding the universes together. If you look in spots, there's references to Cowl and characters from there. So there's all these Easter eggs that the worlds are really interconnected and intertwined. And I think the best part about like Radiant Black is that it's a create your own book. So he can do whatever the hell he wants. Like he's not, he doesn't have anybody telling him what to do or not do.
Yeah.
Other than Michael saying, "Hey, you can't say that yet," which he does all the time. Which he does all the friggin' time. But that, like, I think it's really cool, and that makes you want to read it again. I haven't read through Invincible in a while, but I've done a full read through, and I've read through bits and pieces of it. I really want to do another full read through to see if I can pick up on things like that, to see if there's any interconnections anywhere, or kind of precursors of what's going to happen and going forward. But like that's kind of one of the cool things about about Radiant Black that allows you to see some of that stuff. And we get it a little bit with with Radiant Red, and I'm sure we'll probably get some more tie-ins with Rogue Sun, since it's all part of like the same universe, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on the flip side of this, are there comics you avoid altogether? Like you go into the comic shop and you see XXXXO. Oh wait, I need to avoid that, or I don't like the way that looks, or anything like that.
So, again, kind of with me trying to feel things out as to what I like to do, I'm more apt to pick something up and to try it to see if I like it than to steer away from it. But and a lot of it comes from recommendations from people and stuff like that. So I haven't really found anything that is cringe-worthy. I would say, other than some of the stuff that my daughter picks out, that's wicked kitty, right? That she likes to read now, because she now has her own love for comics. Will go and she'll pick stuff out that she likes to see, and I was like, oh yeah, that looks like fun. Probably not for me, but you're a kid. You like different things. Some of the art is, the art's got to be there. If the art's there and it seems like a good story, I'll pick it up and I'll give it a try. But nothing, as long as those two things are met, I'll try it and see what happens.
Right. Are there any comics in the past or currently that you wish you hadn't read them? So basically, if you read a comic and you're like, oh God, I feel like I wasted my time.
I don't know. Like, some of the comics, there are parts of them that are good, and there are parts of them like that they do things that it's just like not for me, right? So I'll give you an example. Like this run, the run of Nightwing that I'm reading now. I like it. I like a lot of parts of it, but one thing that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers is the need for them to do a recap when you read through one issue and you're reading the trade that's got like 3-4 issues in it, and then they have to spend 2 pages to do a recap of what you just fucking read. Like that drive, like, it's just like, oh my God, I wish I could skip these 2 pages, but I'm probably going to miss something. So, it's just like one of those things where that, like, I don't want to say is annoying to read, but I end up reading through them because I like the overall story. But things like that kind of drive me a little nuts. And I was like, well, that was a waste of 2 pages, right? It may not be the whole comic, but that was, that was kind of a waste, but
right,
not necessarily the whole. I haven't gotten to a point where like the whole comic was a hot mess, and I completely just kiboshed it.
Yeah, I don't understand, and there's supposed to be a difference between the collected editions versus the single issues, and sometimes there isn't. I don't know. It's just really weird at times, and I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. All right. How large or small is your physical comic book collection?
Well, it's probably small compared to most people, because everything that I collect physically is all Radiant Black related. My goal is to display everything on my wall, so. I posted it before on Twitter. I'll have to send you a picture, but like, okay. What do I have? Let's see. On my wall right now, 6, I think. 25. I have like 25 comics on my wall right now. And I know I have a bunch more pre-ordered. I think I have about another 20 coming. That are in a pull box that I'm waiting for my box to get big enough to ship, because one of the places that I use is Capcan, because they have a nice point system, and you can kind of basically pre-order stuff with your points and then ship it when your box gets big enough, and then you just pay for shipping once. Because the shitty part about, I don't have a really good local comic book store. I don't have a really good LCS. There's an LCS which is like, I don't know, 25-30 minutes away. And it's big, and
right.
I don't know. It's like it's in a mall. It's not like local comic book feel. Like like a mom and pop shop. So the vast majority of my shopping I do online, and paying for shipping sucks. But I will say, when we started to have this conversation before I think we started recording, is people that fucking ship via media mail needs to be kicked in the knees, because I just got a comic that came to me that I ended up buying off of eBay that had like the whole corner is fucked up. And like this person shipped it via media mail. Like I have no problem if you're going to ship it. Like I'll pay $5-8, to ship it the right way. But this guy probably spent $1 to ship it, and it came all destroyed. So I guess it's, shipping has to be good. So my digital collection's a lot bigger, which is why, I continue to get Comixology, good, bad, or indifferent. I know the bad things about it, right? It sucks, but like the guided view, and to have to be able to take 50 comics on my iPad, wherever I want to go,
right? Yeah,
and not fuck them up.
Yeah,
like that's the thing, So I'll read digitally, and I love the guided view. Like I actually prefer reading guided view over the physical read, just because it's a panel by panel reveal. Right? It's not a page reveal, and it hits that much harder. On where
it hits that much harder because they are taking you in story order of where they want your eye to go.
Yeah.
Again, like I said earlier in the episode, I will fully support the Comixology app. I just want the cowards at Amazon to put it on Windows. Put it on the damn Microsoft Store so I can continue to read these things on my computer. I don't want to use the damn Kindle app. Nobody should be using a Kindle app for comics. Ugh, I threw up in my mouth again. Oh, God.
Yeah.
What was the... Oh, okay. So this... Okay. What's the one comic you could never live without ever?
Ever live without ever? Oh, God. Well, that's probably right now Invincible or Radiant Black. Having the continued series, I mean, is a win. I'm glad I was introduced to it. It's just like the fan base is crazy too. It's just a lot of fun to interact with everybody as well. So I would definitely say one of those two, just because I'm getting into this, and that's the other thing too. Like I got into this thing and I'm getting back into it late in the game. So like trying to figure out where to pick things up and what runs to read and how to read them without getting lost has been super helpful. Like with the community that, between Twitter community, Twitter comic book community and the Discord community. Cause otherwise it's like for Marvel and DC, it's hard. Like, where do I start? What runs do I read? Like, can I just jump in here? Like the latest Moon Knight run, like I had a conversation with a bunch of people on Discord and a few people on Twitter. And they're like, yeah, you could hop right in. It's fucking amazing. I was like, sweet, I'm in. And I'm glad too, because the Moon Knight show is going to be coming out. It's going to give you all the background that you need. Cause I've never read anything Moon Knight related before this latest run. Yeah. So that's like kind of, the beauty of being a part of something from the get-go, like Radiant Black, because Radiant Black is just constantly building on itself. Now we're 2 volumes out, we're getting into volume 3, and you kind of almost have, like, you could jump into Supermassive and be fine and read Supermassive like a one-shot and you still have a sense of what's going on. But if you try to pick up issue 13, 14, 15 of Radiant Black,
you're going to be so lost. You are going to be missing out on
what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be a part of something from the get-go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fun. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah. All the respect in the world to all of the previous writers that helped, the comics industry along. As soon as I hear the name, I'm like, what's he doing now? As soon as I hear Kyle Higgins' name, what's he doing now? He's literally, and it's all because of his Nightwing run. And the thing I will suggest to you in a few moments, because holy crap, just amazing, but I'll mention that in a minute. This ought to be a good story for you. Was there ever a moment you were done with comics?
So in the beginning, right, when I tried to pick up comics the first time to try to get into it, I couldn't. And because of I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to read. I didn't know who to talk to about it because apparently all my friends are assholes and they're on the cooler things than what I was. I mean, shit. I was one of those kids, and a couple of us did this, right? You get home off the bus, you run home from school, and you flip on the TV and you watch half-hour Power Rangers, then you go outside and play. Like that was me and a bunch of my friends, right?
Yep.
Nerdy as that sounds, that was a part of our daily routine. We watched Power Rangers. We got off the bus, ran home, watched Power Rangers, and then went outside to, I don't know, shoot hoops, kick a ball, like play manhunt, do whatever the fuck we normally do as kids. But they weren't reading comics, right? They were mostly shows, video games type stuff, but never got into that. So right in the beginning is when I got out of it. It wasn't really until Invincible came out on Amazon Prime and me kind of realizing and like, holy shit, like this is cool. And then holy shit, comics again. And then with my daughter and her struggling to kind of read on her own and kind of finding that and working with that. And that's become kind of a thing with us now is it's really cool to be able to share that with, something like that with your kids. And we talk about that type of stuff. So it's been a cool journey for me there. And then just getting back into it. But like the whole way, like I kind of got tied in with the Radiant Black podcast was, and learning about Radiant Black was on an Invincible podcast when Kyle was on there. And he was like, oh, I got this thing called Radiant Black. And I was like, that sounds fucking cool. And I immediately added it, to my Comixology pull list, because that's where I started pulling it. And I didn't start collecting until probably about issue 6 or 7. Where I was behind the times for a lot of this stuff, but I'll tell you what, I've got some pretty fucking bangers on my wall right now.
Yeah.
like I've got the helmet foil. I've got the Finch helmet, the Finch variant in foil signed by Marcella Costa.
Wow.
I've got the 1 in 50 foil on my wall of Supermassive, which I also have copies coming signed to me. I have all 3 retros, Rogue Sun, Radiant Black, the first one, and Radiant Black 3 on my wall. I have the first 6 of the connecting cover variants with Kyle's signed. I've got a 9.8 of the Finch variant on my wall. I've got the 1 in 50 of Rogue Sun. I've got the 1 in 25 of Rogue. I got I've got a bunch of bangers on my wall that I'm really proud of. So I was able to hop in a little late, but still find the deals to get
absolutely
the right price, because some of these things are
very
expensive now.
Very expensive. Which is one of the reasons why I didn't ask question 18, which is, what is the most money you spent on a comic or a comic item?
It's not as bad as you think. So the most expensive comic I have on my wall that I spent on is the 1 in 50 helmet of number 1 foil copy. I think I paid 105 shipped from Europe, which isn't terrible.
No, that's not terrible.
But like for example, the 1 in 25 Finch foil variant with Marcella Costa's signature on it, and I got it for $75 on eBay. Like I feel like I stole that, because Marcella has not come to the States and signed very many copies. And in talking with Discord, in the Discord server, there's there's almost 300 people in that Discord server. There's only one other person that has a signed copy of Marcella. And he signed it. I think he might have signed maybe 100 copies or less at a local comic shop in Brazil, because he hasn't gone to the States and he's got no intentions of coming anytime soon because of the pandemic and stuff, from what I hear. So like that, I'm really proud of. And then if you got early bird pricing on the foils of Supermassive, like Kyle was nice enough to drop those for his newsletter folks and people that supported him. Like, you try to go to get the signed copy of a 3-person signed copy of the foil now on Comic Sketch Artist. Last I saw, the price was $300. I'll tell you what, I didn't spend $300 on it.
Yeah,
I didn't even spend a third of that. Like, the initial drop of the price was good.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But anyways, $105 for that helmet foil was the most that I've spent on a single item.
And again, if you're, we live in a world now where creators of comics and anything, honestly, television shows, cartoons, whatever, as long as we act like human beings to each other, everybody can interact. Especially with comics, if you want to and you are able to support your creators that you like, jumping in on the ground. Like I said, I think I told Bash this on his episode of the podcast of his origins, but if he and the other Matt didn't come up with, I was actually, Radiant Black is so special to me that even just before, after reading the first issue, I was literally going to splinter off and do my own Radiant Black podcast, and I was going to call it the Radiant Black Podcast because I was literally 2 weeks ahead of them. If you look at episode, I forget which episode number it is, but if you look at Radiant Black #1 under the pull bag, it's literally 2 weeks before they started. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm just like, the timing of everything. But my point is, like I've said already, we can all be in on the ground floor, or we can be someone like you who caught it late and go back, like me. Nightwing, it wasn't until Death of the Family that I actively sought out Nightwing, because they were like, oh my God, Snyder, oh my God, this, oh my God, that, issue 13 of Batman, the Joker, the this, the that. So basically, I read issue 15 of Nightwing before I read any other Nightwing at the time when I was still getting print comics. And then I immediately went back to my local comic shop at the time in Louisville, Kentucky, The Great Escape, where I said, okay, I need Nightwing numbers 1 through 14, or I need whatever trades, collect those, or whatever, so I can catch it. And I went back and I caught up. So comics is for everybody, creators and fans alike. And we can all, that's the number one message I have, is that we can all be friends. We all don't, there are no, even though I'm sure there are plenty of supervillains in comics Twitter, just ignore those people, folks. Just find the good ones. Okay, so not counting Radiant Black, not counting Invincible, not counting Oblivion Song. What else have you mentioned already? Rogue Sun.
Walking Dead.
Walking
Rogue
Dead.
Sun.
Okay, so not counting those 5, do you have, what are you reading right now, and what do you think our listeners should check out? So recommendations from you to the listeners.
So I haven't said this one, but I like the run. Kyle's Darkhawk run.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 series run.
Yep.
That is totally worth it. I wish that he did more than 5. Just based off the origin story, and the way that it's kind of new, and I didn't even know this about. So I went into that run knowing nothing about Darkhawk, and I was like, well, fuck it. Kyle's writing it. I like everything else that he writes so far. Why the hell not? It's something that I could potentially get in at the ground level, like I did with Radiant Black, and so that one is definitely really cool. But I didn't realize that. I think I was listening to an interview that Kyle did with, forgot who, but I didn't realize that Darkhawk, the powers, when you hold the crystal or whatever the hell it is, you get transformed to another dimension. And I guess that he was talking about that a little bit, and your body, your connection is still there, but your your body is actually in another dimension. And I was like, fuck, that would have been really cool to explore and have him like continue to write it and talk about it. And it just, you know, it was a 5-issue run, and I kind of stopped. I don't know what happened after the 5 issues. I don't know if they're still doing Darkhawk or whatever, but or how that storyline is picking up. But I'd be interested in learning more about it. I thought that was pretty good. So I actually, one thing that I like that the Invincible cast is doing right now is they're doing other creator books by Kirkman. Mm-hmm. So they did the last one they did was Super Dinosaur, and that was really fun read with my daughter. It's more of a kid's book. It's pretty decent. I wouldn't probably recommend it for probably most everybody else, but if you have a kid, it's a fun read. It's very kiddie, and it's something really good to read with your kids. But the other thing, Haunt was, which is like kind of a Spawn. I think now Spawn takes it over. I think there was a recent variant of Spawn with Haunt on the front cover. I forgot what number it was, but the first volume of Haunt was pretty good. Read through that because, you know, the Invincible cast recommended it or was getting people to read it, and then they kind of did a review on it. So those are a couple more. The latest Moon Knight run is fucking awesome. Highly recommend that. So those are some. But yeah.
And then the one thing I was going to recommend for you to check out if you haven't already, it's done by Snyder and Higgins together. However, I feel it's more of a Higgins thing. Like, I hear more of Kyle's style in the writing than I do Scott's, and it is Batman Gates of Gotham, because it is Dick as Batman. And if you haven't read it yet, it's so good. It's basically the history of Gotham City. It's basically what the Gotham television show should have been, but in comic form.
Wow,
it's so cool.
That's awesome. You said you like Nightwing, right? So what's your favorite Nightwing run that I can jump into after reading Kyle Higgins' Nightwing?
See, that's the problem. I can't recommend one to you yet because you're already doing what I would recommend to you. I have not had a chance to catch up on the current run, the Tom Taylor run, or whomever is. I believe it's Tom Taylor that's still writing.
Yeah,
Nightwing, I think. So, long story short, for the last, 3, 4, 5 years, I have been wanting to do something on this podcast that I don't think I will ever do. 90 Nights of Nightwing. Basically 3 months, publishing one podcast per day, covering one trade per podcast of every single Nightwing comic that has ever, as long as it's in collected edition and not single issue, but basically getting 90 Nights of Nightwing done, and I don't think I will ever get it done. Because I haven't organized it, I haven't looked it up, I haven't bought the comics, but like, that's how ambitious I am on certain things, and I just look at it and I'm like,
That's pretty big. That's a lot of recording and editing and a pretty big undertaking. So
yeah. So basically,
hats off to you.
Yeah. So basically, that would have to be done over the summer, and then 90 nights. That's 3 months. If I could, because originally it was going to be 30 nights of Nightwing for hashtag Nightwing November. Because and yada yada in 2019, and then that never happened, and then my idea just got big. Oh, I've never actually gone and read the old stuff, like the Chuck Dixon stuff and things like that. I've only read the Kyle Higgins run. I've only read certain things here and there since that run. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever do that, but all right. Heroes, heroines, anti-heroes and heroines, or villains. What archetypes are your go-to reads?
It's got to be heroes. There's just so much story that's generally told with heroes. Like, you have villains and anti-heroes, and a lot of times they're never, I don't know if it's just the writing of what people don't want to do, but the backstory is told, and then the run doesn't continue a lot of times.
Yeah.
For especially villains, like, they never spend more than 4 or 5 issues on a run, maybe 6, maybe 8. But like, you have heroes like Batman, Superman, Radiant Black, which is Invincible, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
But you can look at Invincible, right? Like, I guess I can't. You haven't read it yet. You're killing me. I'm sitting there like,
it's okay.
I don't want to.
Dude, so I am old and I forget things a lot. So anything you say about Invincible, it'll probably just go over my head and I won't remember it an hour from now, let alone 3 months from now if I ever get into it. So go ahead and say whatever you're going to say about Invincible. It's okay.
So you look at characters like Omni-Man, because I'm sure you've watched the show, right? You've at least watched the show.
Nope.
Oh, Jesus.
It's okay.
All right, so Omni-Man, right, is like, in the very beginning is looked at as a hero, and then he, completely hits the fan, and then everybody hates him. And I'll say it like that. I don't want to give too much away, but like, part of the story of Invincible is seeing what happens to not only Mark as Invincible, but Omni-Man, like, and how he tries to redeem himself in ways and stuff like that. So he could be looked at as not necessarily a hero, but an anti-hero, or however you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of a villain, not a villain at times. Like, it depends on when in the run you're talking about him. Like, what is he doing? What is he technically doing? So like, there's flavors of that, which is kind of cool, and I kind of like those characters too, which like have heroistic qualities, but like at times can be perceived as the bad guy, which is kind of, I don't know if it's really an anti-hero, but it's kind of that in between, that really gray area. So those characters are interesting to me. And just besides just the stereotypical heroes,
Mm-hmm.
And Radiant Black, can be perceived as that too, because Marshall doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Let's be honest, and he's kind of a dick, right? Nathan was really the guy that deserved it, and so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the coming issues. Is Marshall going to get powers back? Is he going to go rogue? Is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? Like, there are all these questions and theories and stuff that we're spinning in the Discord server, right? Mm-hmm. And that is really, so a funny story with the Discord server, right? When I first started interacting on Twitter with you, that's with Radiant Black Podcast, there was like a tweet. I think Kyle sent it out, or somebody sent it out. I don't know if Kyle was like, what are kids interacting with these days on chat? And I think I was talking to Bash or the Radiant Black Podcast, and I was like, hey, we could spin up a Discord server to chat. And then all of a sudden we did it, brought me in, and then I've been there since day one moderating it. And Kyle literally joined like less than 3, it was probably like a day or 2. Yeah. He immediately joined right away, and we're like, holy fuck. Like, he's like, hey guys, and we saw his icon, and Kyle Higgins were like, is this really you? Like, is like holy fuck, is Kyle actually in here? And sure enough, it was him, and he's brought in all the other creators. So, being able to spin theories, trying to figure out what characters are and what they're doing is fun.
Okay, it's funny you say spinning theories and characters, because, and I will say this in my eventual, whenever my rung on the Radiant roster ladder ends up happening, I will say this to them on Radiant Black Podcast. When I first started reading the comic, I clearly felt that Nathan was Dante and Marshall was Randall. Literally, the first issue. Nathan went to college and went to all this stuff and ended up in all this debt, essentially a failure, yada, 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 has to move home. I mean, the only thing missing in Radiant Black #1 is a image of Nathan waking up in his closet answering the phone. And then Marshall is so tongue-in-cheek and so on the nose with what his opinions are and what, in those first couple issues. And I'm like, that's Dante and Randall. Hands down. It's Dante Hicks and Randall Graves from Kevin Smith's Clerks.
Yep. Yeah. You want to know what's crazy is that I saw, like, not to go completely sidebar for a second, but like, I guess Kyle's getting surgery on his knee, and him and Kevin Smith interact at times on Twitter. And Kevin was like posted, doing this hike out in California, type of thing, and Kyle responds back, I got to do that before my knee surgery. And it's just interesting. I bet you, now that you say that even more so, I bet you like Kyle, and has. It draws from some of Kevin's stuff, and some people love Kevin's stuff, some people hate it, some people are in between. I think it's fun, right? And I mean, I listen to his podcast. He's got him and Mark Bernard have some good takes and some good thoughts, and they're a fun listen. But
I like 90s, early 2000. Yeah. I like 90s, early 2000s Kevin Smith. In the last decade or so, I haven't been as big of a fan of what he's doing, but hey, you know what? That's my problem, not his, and that's okay. All right. What is one item from a comic book you'd love to have in the real world?
Oh, man. Okay. Oh my god!
I guess I should change this question for you. Which Radiant do you want?
I mean, it'd be dope as fuck to have a Radiant. Honestly, and here's where I think, in listening to Bash's Origins, where he was talking about like he was huge into physics and stuff, and was majoring in that in college for a while. A funny story, and might be why Bash and I get along pretty well, is I majored in physics and math also. So like we have that connection, which is really cool. So this black hole cosmic shit is something that is like hyper intriguing to me on so many different levels. So yeah, it would be fucking cool to have a Radiant, and I would, I would want the main one, because I think, I mean, super massive. You know what happens? Like he freaking, he's a big mech that comes out of his body that he can control. Like, fuck, wouldn't that back to my Power Rangers thing, right? With watching Power Rangers, we used to, when we were kids, man, we used to pretend that we were the Power Rangers and shit like that, and controlling like the Zords. Like, fuck, I want that. And not only that, but like having Black's power, he can fly. So like that goes and checks that box. He has a power of gravity. He has a freaking big mech. Like, what more could you want? I mean, granted, teleporting Pink does, but I'm sure there's going to be aspects where obviously the whole comic is based off of Radiant Black. But yeah, it'd be dope to have a Radiant.
Yeah. The thing of this, it's just, yeah, you're right. Having the Radiant Black power would probably be the number one choice for everybody because, as you said, flying, gravity, blah, blah, blah. I wish, and I'm sure they will get there. After all, this is only the beginning of year 2 of Radiant Black. I can't wait to see the future where Radiant Pink's powers are more, I don't want to say controlled. She's more in control of them. Because what we've seen so far up to issue 12 is it takes a lot out of her, and she doesn't feel like she has control over them. And these portals the portal dropped them in space. It dropped 2 of them in Russia. It dropped the other 2 in God knows where else. It dropped all of them in Japan, for crap's sake.
Yeah, Tokyo, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, as much as I would love the whole teleporting thing, you have to be able to have some sort of control with that. And, it is what it is. But yeah. All right.
So here's something interesting. Just piggyback off that for a quick second before you jump.
Mm-hmm.
Issue 18, right, we already know is gonna be about Yellow. It's gonna be a standalone about Yellow. Every 6 they're doing essentially doing something like an origin-ish story. And 7's going to be about Yellow. 18. Yeah. It's going to be about Yellow. Sorry, I correct myself there. But Yellow was in Pink's origin. Mm-hmm. So there's no way Pink's not going to be in Yellow's origin.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to see if there's interplay, and maybe like with Wendell, he's kind of like, he's like the dad of the group, but I feel like he's going to teach Pink a little bit more, and maybe that whole story is told in the timeline, not necessarily, kind of looking backwards in time a bit. And maybe we get kind of the Wendell, the professor moment, or, kind of like, Professor Xavier trying to teach the other mutants how to use their powers right. Maybe Wendell can help, calm her or help her focus, because she seems all over the place with her streaming stuff and she doesn't know what the fuck she wants to do with her life. Typical, kid that, just still trying to figure shit out. Yeah. So I could see that happening, and maybe we learn more of that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Kyle's going to run it. I don't know how he's going to work it as far as the story for issue 18. But from what you're saying, what I would like to see is the past before we meet Yellow and Pink. So issue 12, before she even goes into the store to say, hey, I need this fixed. Before that. So to get his origin and how he, like, even if it's a couple weeks before, it doesn't have to be like, I don't need Radiant Yellow's, 10-year-old journey as a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's not when the Radiant found him. It's a few weeks or a few days or whatever. So if issue 18, let's just say the first few pages of it are when he, found it, and maybe you even do a little bit of backstory on him of how his family life is, as obviously have been done in issue 6 and issue 12 and whatever. But the rest of it should be the future. Like, even though we didn't see too much with him and Pink, but maybe his origin issue is going to be adventures with them before they. I don't know. I'm just, whatever. But I don't know. But yeah, no. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the other thing I think about. We know that Yellow has some sort of time. Powers.
Yep.
Right. Past, future, going forward, going back. You start to get into the physics of things, and you talk about, getting closer to the speed of light, and shit slows down and goes faster, and going through event horizons and all that crap. Like, Yellow is going to be an integral part in the whole time travel or going from place to place. I feel it. That's kind of just my thought. But like, I bet like a part of Yellow's story we get is like having him seeing things into the future and then doing them, and then realizing like he can kind of see into the future about what's going to happen. And that's part of the reason why he brought Pink, to get that Radiant. There was something that happened where he must have seen a vision. And I bet you we're going to see glimpses of things further into the future that we haven't even seen yet in the actual book. So that also intrigues me.
Yeah. And I could clearly see in any future issue that is not his origin, I could really see Marshall just saying, why can't we just get in a DeLorean? Okay, so 100%. If you could create any comic storyline, what would you want to create, and what characters would you want to create it with? So basically, any company gives you the keys to the kingdom. What would you want to do?
Oh my God, I am. I love listening and enjoying and reading the content. I can do math and I can do that type of stuff, and I can code. But when it comes to like creating things, you ask me to draw something, it's a stick figure. You ask me to tell a story, it has to be about like something that I've already gone through or done. Yeah. And my hats off are to the whole creative team in general with respect to all comics that allow me to read and enjoy things. Like I couldn't even do it. But I would probably take, powers that I like of certain things. Like I love Doctor Strange's powers and, sorcery and mystical arts stuff. And, I love that concept. And then the whole concept of the cosmos with Radiant Black stuff. So I'd probably try to meld those things together to try to tell some type of crazy ass story that, involves time travel, alternate dimensions, has a sci-fi aspect to it. But like, that would probably be the best that I could, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say I don't have a creative bone in my body, but like, that's not, it's not my go-to, I guess, with that type of stuff. But
you are the person that, likes to consume the content and it, immerses yourself in it and, buys every single print you possibly can. Like, I don't know who has more variants, you or Bash. Probably Bash, because he's just crazy. I swear, the guy.
Oh, he does.
I don't know what
he hands down does.
I don't know what kind of job he has. That whatever. But like the dude, just like variant. I'm getting 5 copies of this variant. I'm like, why do you need 5 copies of this variant?
Yeah, he has a hell of. He's actually helped, honestly, and here's another reason why, like, not to plug the Discord server just the comic book community, but, like, because of those things, it's allowed me to make calculated decisions where I'm not getting screwed over and learning, right? Because when I first got back into comics, and this kind of, I guess, is part of my origin story type of thing, where I didn't know what the fuck a variant was. What was a 9.8 versus a 10? Wait, what a 1 in 25 versus a 1 in 50? And it's crazy because like I was like, man, I don't know what the fuck A, B, C, D, what is this cover? What's this mean and how does all that fit together? And I'm not the only one. Like there are people in the Discord server that are like, hey, what's this 1 in 25? What's this 1 in 50? And we're answering it because like I remember when the Discord server first came up, like I was asking those questions. Luckily, right. I'm a moderator. We have our own sub channel where I would, talk to them directly instead of putting it in the general, but people talk in the general and everybody is willing to help everybody else out. And I've learned a shit ton from everybody and I love it. I just want to continue to learn about there because there's, collecting comics is complicated. It's not easy to jump in and figure shit out because you're more than likely going to spend a shit ton of money. Like you look on eBay right now and there are some over exacerbated prices of Radiant Black and Rogue Sun. Like people are fucking stupid. They're not stupid. They're trying to make a shit ton of money. There are comics right now out there that are listed 12 times too high. Like the Rogue Sun, for example, the retro that just came out, right? I got that on pre-order. $15. It was 18 or 20 bucks shipped, right? Which is pricey, but it's a limited run. The retros in general run high, and it's already on eBay for $90. So
that's just ridiculous.
It's crazy, but not knowing what and not being a part of the community that like we have we have a whole exclusive section. So when new exclusives come out, we'll post it and we'll put the original cover price. So you like knowing how much they cost and knowing kind of seeing how much they're sold for in the market. Like you got to look at that stuff to not get screwed over. But absolutely. Bash doesn't like the exclusive variants, but he likes the regular. Like he likes the regular covers, A, B, C, the ratios. Yeah. Like I'm not even close to where he is. Like I don't have all like so I get everything on Comixology, right? So I get cover A on Comixology. I don't unless I like the cover, I'm not going to get it. So like a lot of my covers are the ratio covers. Or I have some exclusives that I really like. Like there's a couple of them that I like. There's one of Red. There's one like a a Comic Kingdom exclusive that I like. But a lot of them are the ratios or the retros or the foil, like the special ones. But he has what he's bananas. A B C L A B C every ratio. Yeah, it's nuts.
He's nuts. I don't I love the guy, but I don't understand. I just don't. And my first thought is, where are you gonna put all of that? Like
this is why I got him digital. And the other reason why I started digital too, you ready for this? Like I was like, all right, well, I'm getting back into comics. I'm gonna like, the nice thing about it is, like, I'm the one that does the finances. My wife doesn't. So, like, if something hits the credit card, like, she's not the wiser. So, like, but like, when stuff starts to come in physically, and like, boy, did I have to have a conversation with her when I started putting fucking comics on the wall. Like, I put on the black box on the wall, and she's like, okay, what do you do? And I was like, well, it's my office, and I want, because I work from home, I want to look at something that I like, so I could justify it. And then the poster comes up and the comics start going up, and she's like, do I even want to know how much you're spending right now on this type of stuff? I was like, no, don't worry about it. Just like it's minor type of thing. But like, that's why I started collecting digitally, because when I was going through it, because she couldn't physically see stuff coming in. Now she's starting to see shit come in, and every now and again, like, sometimes I'll have to sneak the comics upstairs and just hang them on the wall. And of course, like, my daughter sees them because she always goes in and looks at my collection. She's like, Daddy, you got this new one. And I was like, shut up. You're gonna get me in trouble with mommy. And then she'll finally realize it and see it. But like, that was the reason why I went with digital first, because I could do it behind the scenes and read it and be happy about it and be able to reread it and not have to mess it up. And none was the wiser. No one knew what's going on.
Yeah, it's just a crazy thing, and I would love to be able to, do a lot of this stuff. Oh, Comic Vine, what is wrong with you people? Sorry, I'm going through all the Radiant Black issues on Comic Vine because they list Comic Vine is like kind of like Comic DB or whatever. But wow, really? God, they are so. I don't know. They used to list all, like, most comic series. They will show, if they have them available, they will show all the variant covers, and they started out great up until about issue 9 of Radiant Black, and then they just have either just the one cover, or they might have a panel, or by issue 10 it's like, here's the main cover and that's all you get. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well,
I'll send it to you later, but it is what it is. It's crazy.
You can go to the Radiant Black website. They have ABC, all the ratios, but they don't have the exclusives. I mean, there's 20 exclusives alone for Supermassive. There's 20 for Rogue Sun that are exclusive covers, not including the ratios. Yeah. But it's hard to keep track of. Not everybody has them. And that's why we started the exclusives channel, for people to post when stuff's coming out before stuff comes out and get a jump on it.
Yep. What is the one piece of comics advice you would give the comics fandom?
Well, the easiest one is find a great community to interact with, where people are willing to teach other people. And I mean, share the love, right? So that's again why I love the community and the people that I interact with, because I learn so much from everybody. And I'm not just one that learns. Like, people ask questions, I'll answer them, right? That based off of my experience. You gotta continue to interact with people and bring people up to the same level, or as what you are, because I was once there, right? I love to teach. Yeah. I mean, and that's just another avenue for me to do it. Is to help new people that are getting into it, or people that are coming into the server that don't know what's going on, or want recommendations of stuff that I read. I'll throw that out there. It's finding that community to interact with in a positive way is the most critical thing that will not only nurture your love for comics, but keep it. Because if you don't have people to interact with and talk about comics with, it's going to die in the vine. It's going to sizzle. Like right in the beginning, when I tried to pick it up and I had no one to talk about it, I was like, well, this sucks. And I moved on. And here I am, back, Jesus, like 20 something years later. I don't even know. Like, it was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And now here I am, the old guy in the server. Not really the old guy, but you know what I mean.
Oh boy, I'm not gonna say that you're the Wendell of the Radiant Black Discord, but
well, hey, I guess that's quasi-fitting because I am the technical one in the server.
There you go.
So I guess I'm the Wendell as much as that's pretty funny. Maybe I should change I'm gonna have to change my avatar to yellow now.
Oh no! Oh god! All right, we're gonna take a quick break. You're gonna hear some other podcast ads and some other stuff, and we will come back to close the show after this.
What was that universal greeting again? Never mind, I remember. Ba weep grana, weep nitty bong.
Hey guys, it's Rodimus Primal, and be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Join me as I have Transformers discussions, retrospectives, toy reviews, and more. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rodimus Primal, as well as Facebook and Instagram at Rodimus Primal Show. Transform and roll out, and be sure to check out my content till all are one.
Last big party of the summer, folks. Let's go out with a bang.
Kid? Yes. Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG and Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth in Beyond the Night, only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Hello, geeks and geekettes! Looking for a podcast that covers a vast array of topics? Then check out Altered Geek Unleashed, where we discuss our thoughts on this week's geeky news, tech, gaming, television shows, movies, cartoons, comics, and more. So, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks, every Friday on the Geekcast Radio Network.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The Geekcast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure the Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news, play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series, where we review noted directors' movies film by film. Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience the Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or geekcastradio.com.
Hello, all sentient beings. Want the latest on everything going on in the Transformers multiverse? Check out the Transmissions Podcast Network. We've got weekly podcasts covering everything from Alpha Trion to Omega Supreme, from old school G1 all the way up to Cyberverse and beyond. And you don't want to miss Empire of Rust, the world's first and only Transformers live play role-playing game podcast. If you love Transformers, there's something for everyone at transmissionspodcast.com.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
Discover a world of vintage and modern toys that's more than meets the eye with the Triple Takeover Toycast.
Hosted by toy writers and photographers Toybox Soapbox, 6O, and TF Square 1, this informal and chilled-out series of discussions cover everything from vintage Transformers to Mask, Diaclone, Microman, and more, be it nostalgic or current.
Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual robot enthusiast, all are welcome.
Triple Takeover Toycast.
Toycast is back. We are talking toys once more here on the Geekcast Radio Network's Toy and Action Figure podcast. From breaking into the display case to our toy topic talk and the brand new Origins in Toy collections, where we get guests to tell us their toy story of how they got into toy collecting. Toycast is the only toy podcast you will ever need. Find us on geekcastradio.com and any podcatching client you choose to use. Now go forth, transform and transcend your toy collecting today while listening to Toycast.
Oh, hey, I got something!
Since 2009, we have been the premier cartoon podcast here at the Geekcast Radio Network. We are Tooncast. From taking you beyond the cartoons we grew up with to seasonal saucy toon talk, and now we get the origins of toonsters everywhere as we ask guests 30 questions about their cartoon watching experiences, plus so much more. Tooncast is back. Join me, TFG and Mike, and the rest of the GCRN crew as we give you all the toon talk you will ever need, only on the GCRN and wherever you consume your podcasts. We are beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination. We are all tunes all the time here on Tooncast. Yeah. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here inside the pull bag. We are 480 episodes strong. We've got 20 to 500. I don't know how the podcast is going to continue past 500. I know I could still do Origins episodes and talk to a bunch of comics fans and things like that. But this podcast started as a comics review show where we review comics, and it's really difficult for me to read comics on my phone. Like, as much as I love the Comixology app on my phone, and it still has the guided view and all of that, I've always read my comics on my computer, and Kindle, you suck. All right. Thank you for joining us here inside the pull bag. If you'd like to get in contact with us, leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send us email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays: Apple and Google Podcasts. Leave us reviews, please, as well as star ratings on Spotify now. Spotify just added star ratings. So there's that, as well as any other podcatching client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio for the network, at the Pullbag for the show. I am at TFG and Mike. What is your Twitter, sir?
It's at MartyStoked.
Become a fan of Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also search out the Pullbag over there as well. Join the Radiant Black Discord. If you like Radiant Black, if you want a new comic to get into, join the Discord and have fun, and welcome to existence. Next time, I don't know what we're doing in episode 481. I have zero things planned right now. I could be podcasting under a bridge next time. I don't know. So for now, I am TFG and Mike with
Matt Martin. Or Marty Stoked.
As always, make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
This is Kevin Conroy, and I am the goddamn Batman.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.